Let's cut to the chase. OTT reporting is designed to look smart, not actually be smart. The goal? Making you think everything is just dandy while sidestepping any real accountability. But you deserve better. In this video, we're calling out the fluff, showing you how OTT reporting should be done, and giving you the tips and tricks you need to cut through all the noise. The first thing you need to know is that every OTT vendor is working with the same set of underlying data. That's because all OTT transactions run through a standardized process called OpenRTB, or real-time bidding. It's a unified protocol that powers the entire programmatic ecosystem. Now, without diving too deep into the technicalities, here's why that matters. Any data you receive from your OTT vendor is a direct result of what they're choosing to give you. So if you're requesting a specific metric and your provider's refusing to give it to you, it usually boils down to one of three reasons. Number one, they simply don't want to give it to you. Number two, they're actually just the middleman and they're outsourcing your OTT campaigns to another provider, and that provider is refusing to give it to them, which unfortunately is more common than you may think. Or number three, they haven't developed the technology or the processes to properly parse the bid stream data to give you the data that actually impacts your campaigns, so they just give you noise instead. And now I'm gonna show you what I mean. So let's get the technology out. Okay, what I'm showing you here is the basics, and there are still some key things to note. Let's start with reach. It's always important to understand what form of reach is being reported to you. Are they reporting reach at the IP level? Well, then you need to really refer to that number more as like a household reach, versus if they're reporting it via device ID or user ID, you need to think of more of that as individual reach. And since the average number of people per household in the US is 2.5, make sure you understand which one you're looking at, because they can mean very different things. And if you're unsure, make sure to ask your vendor, and if they can't answer off the top of their head. Okay, up next is frequency. So all the same points about reach apply here too. And if they're using a different standard for frequency than they are reach, you need to immediately ask why. Remember, every provider has access to all of those data points. So if they're using, let's say, IP address for reach, but user ID for frequency, they may be trying to make the numbers look rosier than they actually are. The next big thing to note about frequency is the time frame in which it's being reported over. I have literally seen monthly campaign reports in which they report the frequency year to date. You'd think you're looking at a February report, the frequency should be February, but no, sometimes it's year to date. Frequency can be tricky with OTT, so it makes a favorite spot for vendors to get, let's say, creative. Okay, last and most definitely least is my favorite metric in the history of all metrics for OTT, which is VCR, or Video Complete Rate. I could do a full 2-hour documentary on how much I hate VCR, but I'm gonna do my best to keep my frustrations in check here. Look, I don't hate VCR because it's useless. I hate how it's sold to media buyers and advertisers. So first off, since CTV ads can't be skipped, VCR is basically a participation trophy. Unless someone turns the TV off mid-ad, you're getting a video complete. So since providers know this, they slap that 97% VCR at the tippy top and say, wow, look how great this campaign is performing. So here's what you need to know. VCR in aggregate will always be high. However, it can be useful on a granular level to snuff out invalid or fraudulent inventory sources. Let me show you what I mean. Just look at this chart. On the surface, VCR looks amazing, but you scroll down and boom, 400,000 impressions from a source that's totally legit, yet the average still looks stellar. That is the danger. So, pro tip, if your provider is telling you that your campaign is performing well because the VCR is high, ask them to break out the VCR like I did in this chart and watch them squirm. And also know that it'll help you not waste tens of thousands of dollars on ad fraud, is another good reason, I suppose. Okay, so now that you know how to slice and dice the basics, let's look at some real world examples of campaigns that my team has audited recently and see how these vendors are really doing it out in the wild. Oh, starting off strong. Ooh. Okay, see what I mean? This provider is so proud of their VCR, they broke it out in 3 different ways. Kill me. If you want a great example of looking smart but not being smart, look no further. Oh my God. First of all, I'm glad 100% of people started the ad. Wow, that really helps. Okay, so by breaking it out into quartiles, you're providing literally no information of value, and you're just taking up space to put precise percentages on your report to look super smart. Oh, those percentages are so high. Absolute crap. Then you have this great chart here at the bottom showing VCR by day. These providers will literally break out VCR in every imaginable way. Except, of course, the one that matters. Let me be clear. While I haven't conducted a scientific study on the rate at which people turn off their TV depending on the day of the week, I can tell you it doesn't matter. No, it doesn't. Okay, so now we're looking at the impressions by day, and it's almost like they overlaid the VCR over impressions to like obscure the impression volume, because like, what is going on here? Give me a break. Again, the only way VCR is helpful is if it's broken out granularly so you can catch anomalies, not an aggregate or whatever this crap is. Okay, let's see what we have up next. Is this is this a joke? Is this a real report? This was the first slide. Oh, your VCR was not only strong, it was strong every day of the week. Whoopee! Okay, we have some hardcore analytics on this one. Video starts were strongest on Thursday, Fridays, and Saturdays. This was a shift from Sundays and Mondays in December. Okay, so a few things here. There's literally no scale for video starts, just for VCR. So these could all be within like 0.2% of each other. So they're literally writing this like optimization note just based off the graphic with no actual data and no basis in like true analysis. But based on the rest of this chart, that sounds about right for what I'm seeing. There's like this implication that extremely minor changes in impressions by day of the week has some relevancy to not only what month it is, but the performance of the campaign? What? Okay, in all seriousness, this is an example of a provider trying to give you the feeling that they're hyper scrutinizing the data and they're optimizing everything, when in reality, it's pretty apparent they have no idea what they're looking at, because you might as well say, hey, these bars are blue, but they were orange in December, so that's progress. Take that day of the week example. You obviously need a scale to see how big those differences really are. And to kind of illustrate that, let me show you an example from some of our reporting, where we break out the impressions by day and the percentage of impressions that fell on that day. It's just to be as easy to understand and transparent as possible. Also, remember that even delivery throughout the days of the week isn't necessarily a good or bad thing. Your provider can control what weight they apply to certain days of the week for delivery. So depending on your vertical or business, you may want to see more delivery on Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays versus weekdays, like in whatever reporting we pulled this from. In a similar vein to day of the week, providers will often try to obscure time of day reporting too, like in these examples. You have a really cool pie chart because I guess clocks and watches are circular, so should your time of day reporting. And this one, when it's all so darkly colored, you can't even really see the differences, and there's no rubric for what time zones those represent. Like morning, is that 2 a.m.? Is that 8 a.m.? Is that, what? It's so unclear when your impressions are running. So remember that OTT isn't beholden to the same reporting limitations that traditional was. So every provider gets an exact timestamp of when every ad was served. So you can get a lot more granular with your time of day reporting, like so. Okay, another pro tip here while we're on this is just like with day of the week, you can weight your delivery by time of day. So if your product or service makes more sense to maybe serve in the morning versus like noon or something like that, your provider can absolutely do that. I also think most advertisers may question why they're paying the same prices for those ad slots at 3 a.m. as they are for the ones in prime time. Maybe a good question to ask. Okay, so bottom line, a lot of these reports are meant to look impressive, but always remember the real data is there if your provider's willing to share it with you, that is. So that's why at Aduro, we build fully customizable reporting for our clients because no two advertisers care about the same metrics, and rigid templates, definitely not our thing. And after watching this video, if you think your reporting is subpar, click on the link below and you can connect with one of our OTT experts and they can walk through your reporting with you and see if there's any gaps. And one more, last one I promise. If you found this video helpful, please like and subscribe so you can get notified when we release part 2 of this video. And most importantly, as always, keep streaming with clarity, friends.